Welcome back, guys, to my NFL recap for Week 2 for the 2022 season. We started off with a Thursday game. It was Patrick Mahomes versus Justin Herbert in the Thursday night game. And we started off with a 31-yard field goal from Hopkins to make it 0-3 to the Chargers in the first. Then Herbert did a second and goal in the first to make it 0-10 to the Chargers in the first. Touchdown by McKeon to make it 10-7 in the second. First and 10 in the third from Mike Williams to make it 17-7 in the third. Then 17-14 for a field goal from the Chiefs. Watson had a good game. Watson had a good game for the Chiefs. He had 2 touchdowns, and then Palmer had a touchdown to make it 27-24 to the Chiefs for the win. And again, good impressive win for the Chiefs. Going on to the early Sunday games, we had the Colts versus the Jags. Matt Ryan looked really bad, and I was saying this beginning of the season. People were saying, I had a comment a couple of videos ago when I did the Colts in my preview before the season started. Who was the quarterback I would have in Indiana instead of Matt Ryan? I said Jordan Love. Jordan Love should be that starting quarterback. He should be the quarterback in Indiana, not aging Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan has been declining for the last couple of years. Again, it showed in this game here against the Jags. Christian Kirk had a touchdown in the first to make it 0-7 in the first. Robinson had a second. Robinson had a 2nd and 7 in the second to make it 0-14. Then it was 0-24 to the Jags. Really impressive win for the Jags. And what I'm really liking about the Jags this year is that Doug Pearson is changing the culture there, and he's gained. So far, he hasn't done a bad job. I know he hasn't got the weapons around Trevor Lawrence like the elite offensive line and stuff like that, but he's doing the best he can with that roster. Then we have the Patriots versus the Steelers. Again, I'm pissed with the Steelers this week. Last week it was the Bengals. I'm pissed with the Steelers because I said in my picks I did that the Steelers were going to go over, and they did not. They didn't go over. The Patriots win by 17-14. It was 3-3 in the first. Touchdown by Nelson to make it 10-3, and then 10-6 in the third. Damian Harris made it 17-6 in the third. Freemel touchdown in the first, 17-12. Johnson had his second touchdown of the game to make it 17-14, and the Patriots get their first win of the season. Then we have the Commanders versus the Lions. I predicted in my picks the Commanders to win. But again, Dan Campbell was taking kneecaps. They're taking kneecaps. They may have one of the worst quarterbacks in the league, Jared Goff, as quarterback. But Carson Wentz and the Commanders, he can go back to wherever because they lost this game 27-36 to the Lions. At halftime, they was 0-22. The Lions were leading by 22 points in halftime, and then you had Swift, who had his third touchdown to make it 15-29. Then Dotson, who had 2 touchdowns. He was the only good player on the Commanders team to make it 27-36. Then we had the Jets versus the Browns. And then you look at the Browns were leading this game. It was like 30. They was leading this game. Then at the fourth quarter, where the hell was the Browns' defense? You had Davis, who was wide open in the fourth. It's 24-30. You're late in the game, and Davis for the Jets was just here on his. No defender was near him, and there he is, just scores a touchdown. Nobody was defending him or trying to block him. Again, and then it goes to 30, gets a field goal, 31, and the Jets get the win. And again, that's why the Browns are the skid marks in the NFL. And then we had the Bucks versus the Saints. The good thing, the funny thing that happened, I saw this on Twitter, is that Mike Evans has been banned for a couple of games because of this whole brawl he had with the Saints bench. I thought that was pretty cool, like how the Saints and the Bucks players were gaining on it. I get them in the wrestling ring, but yeah. We start off with Lutz having a field goal in the first week at 0-3. Then Ryan Suckup had got the Bucks back in the game to make it 3-3. Then a touchdown to make it 16-3 in the fourth. Suckup to make it 16-3. Then it was a touchdown from Thomas to make it 20-10, and then the Bucks win 20-10, and Todd Bowles has got 2-2 now as his first head coaching job since the Jets. Sorry about that, guys. Since the Jets. Then we got the Panthers versus the Giants. Again, Brian Daboll is doing a great job with the Giants. He's 2-2 now with the Giants, 16-19. You had again field goal to make it 0-3 and then 0-6. Perino had a field goal to make it 3-6 in the second, and then 6-6 in the second. First and 10 by DJ Moore in the third to make it 13-6, 13-13 in the 13-13 in the third. And then again had a field goal again to make it 13-16 in the fourth, and then Perino field goal to make it 16-16, and then field goal from Gann to make it 16-19 to the Giants. And really impressive start by the Giants this season. You had the Dolphins versus the Ravens. It was 7-7 in the second, and then Bateman made it 7-14 in the second. Andrews had a touchdown in the second, making it 7-21. Lamar Jackson had a poor pass in the third that led to Robinson getting a 7-28 in the third. Then 14-28 in the third. Then this big comeback happens from Mike McDaniels and the Dolphins to make it 28. It was like 38-38. Waddle gets his second touchdown of the game. He had a good game to make it 42-38 to the Dolphins. And again, Mike McDaniels, his first head coaching job. He's in the NFL, and he's 2-2. He's beat Belichick, and he's beat Jim Harbaugh, and he's had an impressive season so far. And then we have the Seahawks versus the 49ers. 49ers last week lost to the Bears. Bears football. It wasn't any 49ers football. The biggest thing that came out of this game was that Trey Lance has injured his ankle in the game. He's had successful surgery, so the big news coming out of it, again, he's going to be out for the rest of this year. I feel bad for, again, Trey Lance. The first year, last year, Kyle Shanahan didn't start him in the quarterback position. He was having Jimmy G start instead of Trey Lance, so he missed out on his rookie year to see how good he was going to be. Then in his second year, the year that was a lot of hope for Trey Lance, he gets injured, and now they're going to have Jimmy G again. They're going to have Jimmy G for the rest of the year. But yeah, I hope Trey Lance gets back to. I hope Trey Lance gets back to good health, and he's back for 2023. And I'm hoping 2023 he pulls through, because again, he's had 2 years. 2 years of bad luck. He didn't start last year. He gets injured this year. So yeah, and then the 49ers win 7-27. Then the Falcons versus the Rams, 27-31. The Rams get the win. Then we have the Texans versus the Broncos. Broncos bounced back after last week's fucking botch last week. Nathaniel Hacks and him telling McManus to do a 60-40 off field goal. Instead of having your fat ass quarterback that give a shit ton of money to, and Russell Wilson throw the ball and actually get a touchdown, for God's sake. But they bounced back this week with a 9-16 win over the Texans. Then we had the Bengals versus the Cowboys. Um, the Cowboys win 17-20. Again, I look at the Bengals, I'm like, damn, this Super Bowl hangover is real. 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row. Burrow has looked mid. The offensive line looks mid. Again, this Super Bowl hangover from February, I'm like, bro, like, what's happened to these Bengals these last couple of months? So that's what I want to know. What has been going on in the offseason for the Bengals? Get your shit together with Bengals. Then we had the Cardinals versus the Raiders in the late Sunday game. The Raiders win 30-29. Again, I look at the Cardinals. I'm like, you give Kyle Murray that big contract, and you know you're having this. 29 to the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals won 29-23. Then you have the Bears versus the Packers. Again, why was this on prime time? Why are we having the Bears and Packers on prime time? Because the fact of the matter is, we know that Aaron Rodgers makes the Bears his daddy. Like, that's it. He makes the Bears his bitch, for God's sake. Why the hell are we having the Bears versus the Packers on prime time? I understand because it's Chicago and you know, you're in the Chicago market. I understand that. But do you want to watch Bears football for 3 hours on a Sunday night? Do you want to put the rest of the country in pain and agony watching this Bears football? Will the networks ever learn to stop playing Bears football on primetime TV? And the game again. This was a Packers team that has lost Devontae Adams. The Bears, again, if they had an offensive coach, maybe instead of going to the 1980s, 1990s fucking mindset of this fucking backwards organization, which is Bears football, and actually you could have got someone like a Mike McDaniels this year, or a Kevin O'Connell, and you could have got something out of Justin Fields. The most important thing about this year is to see if Justin Fields is a dude or not. And the play calling from the offensive core in Chicago, again, over his head. Justin Fields looked like a deer in headlights on Sunday. It was all bad. The Packers' secondary is easily gettable, and you didn't even challenge the secondary for the secondary of the Packers. Then you have tonight's game, the Vikings versus the Eagles. Easy win for the Eagles, 7-24. Jalen Hurts has 333 passing yards. That's the first time that the Eagles have had that much passing yards in a game since 2010. So good win for them. And then the other game, we have back-to-back doubleheaders on Monday night. We had the Titans versus the Bills. Easy win for the Bills, 7-41. The only thing about the Titans I want to say is that it was good to see Malik Willis out there and get a bit of game time. Maybe now that they're gonna have, I'm hoping next week in the next couple of weeks that Malik Willis gets a couple of games starting as a quarterback. But it was a good win for the Titans. They win 7-41, and they're looking like legit contenders this year. And that's my NFL recap for this week. Leave your guys' thoughts in the comments, and yeah.